8th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. It's a regular meeting. We're meeting on Wednesday night due to the holiday on Monday. And if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and I see we have one person here for public audience. If you'd like to come on up, I'm going to set my timer.
Joan Coe, 26 Whitcomb Drive. At the last Board of Selectmen meeting on September 12, 2022, Selectman Sean Askham started an insurrection against First Selectman Wendy Maxtusis and Selectman Heather Getz when discussing the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. As a long-term selectman, Sean Askham knew that the minutes of the meetings can be changed if there are omissions with a vote of the board. However, he decided to publicly chastise and bully First Selectman Wendy Maxtusis with her additions. Then the Gang of Four, Selectmen Eric Wellman, Chris Peterson, Amber Abdul, and Sean Askham, voted against the submission with a 4-2 vote against the additions. The performance of these board members seems dubious. Sean Askham has continually aligned himself with Maria Caprioli to the extent that they appeared to have private communications. Chris Peterson is the son of Helen Peterson, a member of the Open Space Committee. When issues come before the board at the last meeting, Chris Peterson did not recuse himself, but participated in the discussion and voted on the submission to this submission. Is this transparency? Amber Abdul stated after the vote to deny the inclusion to the minutes that she referenced Robert's Rules of Order, which has nothing to do with additions to minutes. This appeared to be an orchestrated insurrection. Minutes of the meetings are used to reflect the background of policy discussions for transparency. It appears that the Gang of Four have aligned themselves with Town Manager Maria Caprioli, who has a reputation of control and abuse of power against Wendy Maxtusis and Heather Getz. The Town Manager is not responsible for editing the draft minutes provided by the clerk. The board and town manager continue to talk about transparency, but are only interested in reflecting an image of Simsbury that they want the people to see. Eric Wellman has aligned himself with town manager Maria Capriola, and to protect Maria Capriola, it is alleged that Eric Wellman leaked a document to the press that was confidential. Should this be investigated? Sean Askham has a history of aligning himself with town manager Maria Capriola, voting to deny grievances with merit. The insurrection between the members of the Board of Selectmen is self-serving and will only create hostility among the members that were elected to serve the people of Simsbury, not squabble among themselves. Recently, I received my request for the personnel file of Simsbury Police Officer Sergeant Sagan. After reviewing the lengthy file, I noticed that omitted from the file was disciplinary files related to Sergeant Sagan. The response I received was, quote, "Discipline logs are not held in the personnel files," end quote. According to state records administrators, a violation of state law to separate files into various locations. All town records should be reviewed for compliance. Sergeant Sagan has a history of bullying and intimidation. The discipline log notes 31209 suspension for mistreating an arrestee, 31220 counseling, emergency driving. On 4/19/2019, there was an internal investigation on a grievance that Sergeant Sagan displayed uncontrollable anger during the shotgun incident. It is alleged in a lawsuit that Sergeant Sagan, quote, knowingly submitted a false arrest affidavit, end quote, in 2013, charging Oliver with third-degree larceny in court records. The lawsuit alleges that Sergeant Sagan knowingly left key facts out of the arrest warrant. The criminal case was nollied according to court records. The lawsuit alleges that it would never have been even brought up except for animus toward Oliver shown by Sagan. Another lawsuit was filed in the United States District Court by Douglas Garofalo versus Detective Sergeant Thomas Sheehan and Detective Sergeant Scott Sagan on October 9, 2019, alleging a violation of the 14th Amendment due process concerning loss of vehicle and personal property. On December 9, 2020, Corey Thomas, Simsbury's first black officer, was appointed to the police department with Chief Bolter and Corey Thomas stating they were a perfect fit. Corey Thomas, is Simsbury's first black police officer, after a few weeks abruptly resigned. It is alleged Sergeant Sagan, as a supervisor of Corey Thomas's training, used intimidation and bullying tactics during training, causing Corey Thomas to abruptly resign. After reviewing Sergeant Sagan's job performance rating over the years, his performance was either satisfactory or excellent, without any notations about his discipline. It appears, with the omission of all discipline, the personnel files do not reflect Sergeant Sagan's profile. All the files in the police department should be reviewed for compliance with the state law on record keeping. Sergeant Sagan, along with several sergeants,
5 minutes,
applied to the
Joan.
appointment of Sergeant for Detective Division. Other officers with experience and stellar records should be considered, and all of my comments will be posted on Simsbury Pat, Twitter at Joan Cohen, Facebook. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the first selectman's report. No presentations tonight. So I wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year if you celebrate the Jewish holiday. And everybody knows that from Rosh Hashanah up to next Wednesday is the high holidays for people of the Jewish faith, of which I am one of them. And the year is 5783, in case you were wondering. And this is the most sacred period of the Jewish calendar, and it is Yom Kippur is known as the Day of Atonement, so we all atone for our sins on that day. This past Sunday, Promise to Jordan held their Untapped event at the Performing Arts Center. It was a little rainy, but it was really a lovely event. And I wanted to just read, if that's okay, what the state presented. She did announce that we said that they were we were a recovery-friendly community, and that she is our recovery-friendly champion. But the state of Connecticut wrote a proclamation, and it was introduced by Representative Hampton and Senator Wickhouse, and it was done with the support of the full General Assembly. In recognition of the organization's extraordinary efforts in having the town of Simsbury be recognized by the Connecticut Alcohol and Drug Policy Council as a recovery-friendly community. Thank you for all your dedicated hard work in the campaign to raise awareness and reduce the stigma of the nationwide problem surrounding substance abuse and addiction. Your compassion and commitment to helping individuals and families find the much-needed resources and show them that recovery is possible to live a happy, successful, meaningful life has had a tremendous impact in our communities. Thank you for keeping the promise and for never letting anyone lose hope in this ongoing fight against substance abuse and addiction. And I just have to thank Lisa Gray, Executive Director. She really does a phenomenal job. I wanted to also mention the Aquarian Water Company proposed increase. The town has sent out messages on that, and I wanted to acknowledge that as part of tonight's agenda. Our town manager, Maria, has included a letter from the town stating that we're opposed to this rate change, and I believe she's going to ask us if we want to support it, and I'd be very happy to support that. So I included that information and how to contact them in the First Selectman's report. Another thing I wanted to mention that we're going to do tonight, hopefully, is create a work group to draft an ordinance regarding the use of smoking products, including cannabis, on town-owned property. The hope is that this alleviates concerns about the outward use of cannabis, and to have this kind of coincide with the zoning commission's work to draft regulations regarding retail sales. There will be a public hearing on October 17th at the zoning meeting, and all residents, pro or con, are welcome to give their input there. I just wanted to mention, too, that Governor Lamont has granted, as part of the STEEP program, I'm not going to say what it is, it's in here, the Station Street reconfiguration, and we're getting funding for that. For those who not sure where Station Street is, it's next to Eno with Weldon Hardware, Vincent's, a Second Chance shop, and that's going to be a two-way street at some point, so stay tuned for when that happens. Our finance subcommittee, which includes Amber and Heather and myself, along with Melissa and Amy, will be looking at the applications that came in for the COVID-19 relief 501c3 program next week, and we hope to get through that and then have our awards approved at the October 12th meeting and bring it to the full board. One thing I'm going to just give a shout out that I learned today from Tom Taberski, that the pickleball courts at Henry James have been totally redone and look beautiful. I had heard complaints from people about cracks, and I'd seen some on social media, and apparently early September the Board of Ed had somebody redo the surfaces, and they look like 5 beautiful courts now. And then the last thing, the police study, we had a great group. It was me, Chris Peterson, Jenna Caulfield, Maria, Melissa, and Chief Bolter met and actually came to consensus on the consultant that we hope to use for the police study that we funded in the budget last year. So that's really good news, and there'll be more to come. And that's my report, and I will turn it over to the town manager.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to skip past our coronavirus statistics. They're there in the report. Nothing particularly new to highlight this week. But moving on to department news and notes, we're really excited to announce the promotion of Jeremiah Kenny. He has been with our police department for about 5 years, serving in the capacity of a dispatcher, and he was recently promoted to a police officer position. This is one of the positions that was authorized as part of the budget for the current fiscal year. So he did begin the academy on September 23rd. He's been a really terrific employee, very hardworking, extremely professional. So we just wanted to wish him congratulations on his new role. And from Public Works, we have a household hazardous waste event coming up at the Public Works garage at 66 Town Forest Road. That's going to be on Saturday, October 15th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We often get asked questions about, what can I bring, etc. In addition to, household chemicals, things of that nature, we also collect electronics, so things like computers, televisions, microwaves. And something we do get questions about quite often is, where can I go to shred my confidential documents that I have? And people can bring up to 2 boxes of confidential materials to be shredded at this particular event. So again, we really hope our residents take advantage of that service that we provide. And we have a quick update on the Firetown Road sidewalk. The engineering division has started the initial survey for that work, as well as the design work. The sidewalk is going to go from essentially the intersection of West Street and Firetown Road up to Plank Hill Road. And we did include a copy of that letter in your packet this evening. So we are going to be coordinating with residents and working on the final design later this year. And then sidewalks along Hot Meadow Street from Woodland Street South to Wiggins Farm Drive. So really excited about this project. This is part of our sidewalk infrastructure program where we're replacing our sidewalks. This is a really visible location for us, and it is along a business corridor with a lot of pedestrian traffic. So I'm really excited about that work. People will probably be noticing that happening in the coming weeks, and we do expect that work to be completed by the end of October. Quick update on our sewer lining work. That project is continuing. There are some existing sewers in the Terriffill neighborhood that are being worked on, as well as a section of Hot Meadow Street from West Street to Wiggins Farms Drive. So the WPCA has contracted with a vendor for that work. You may recall this is a really economical way to extend the useful life of our sewer pipes. If there are questions from homeowners about that, they can go to our website for more information about that project. Just a quick update on the status of the drought conditions. We did report on that at our last meeting. Based on information as of last Thursday, we were in the D1 moderate drought category. So we're not completely out of the drought yet, but we were heading in a positive direction. We have since received some additional rain, so hopefully we will continue to trend in a positive direction. Quick announcement from Social Services. They did receive the grant for the Tai Chi program, and that is up to $2,800 in funding for the program, and it includes the training and support for the instructors. And a couple of quick notes from the town manager's office. We were approved from the Department of Revenue Services for our Neighborhood Assistance Act program. So businesses can make a make a contribution to us in exchange for a tax credit. The approved programs were contributions to our food pantry, our open space acquisition fund, as well as the energy efficiency improvements at the Simsbury Grange. Folks who are interested do need to complete that form by October 1st, and we have a link to all of that information in the report. And lastly, we recently met with Frontier. They are engaging in a townwide fiber infrastructure project. This is fairly large scale. It's going to bring high-speed internet to essentially all Simsbury homes. We are going to be working to publish the location of the neighborhoods that they'll be working in, just again to do our best to help educate our residents so they know what's again happening in their neighborhoods. They have made a paper available, so residents who might have inquiries about the project can contact Frontier directly. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to Selectmen Liaison and Subcommittee reports. I'm going to start with Sean, who's up on the screen, if he has any updates for us from public safety or anything.
Thanks, Wendy. Yeah, we had a public safety meeting last week, I believe.
Yeah.
We had a robust agenda on updates, some good collaboration amongst the various entities working with the health district. And the big update is obviously the first report from our ambulance SVA partners on the car 17, the second ambulance numbers. So we had requested that those numbers come in via email. I have not yet seen them, but our intent is to include them in the minutes. That we can provide a full copy, obviously, to this group and to the residents on the staffing of that second ambulance, the call volume. There was also reports on external, so mutually going out, mutually coming in. So more of a robust report than perhaps what we've gotten in the past, and in line with our recent discussions with the SBAA board as they work to make sure that they're communicating effectively with our board and with the community on the level of service that they're providing. I believe Karen indicated, the chief of service down at SBA, that there was only 3 days in September. I believe that is correct, where they did not have car 17, the second ambulance staff, and that was due to it being prior to the updated policy that they shared with us at our last meeting. So since they have put the policy in place, at least as of the last public safety meeting, that second ambulance was being staffed. And so that's the report from public safety.
Yeah, that was great news too. That was well received at the meeting, Sean. Thank you. Chris, have any Parks and Rec updates?
No, Parks and Rec, there's a meeting tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. But I do want to, for the zoning commission, just some clarity around the last meeting, just some highlights. The October 17th, there'll be 2 discussions, for public comment. One is that the likely extension of the moratorium for an additional 6 months on the allowance of a cannabis establishment in town. So that'll give the committee some more opportunity for conversation around the idea. So that'll probably likely come up and pass to an additional 6 months. And then the 17th is also, as Wendy noted, public comment on retail cannabis in town. Just to clarify for the town folks in general, the zoning commission is not, their work is not an affirmative or a denial of retail cannabis in town. It's simply an updating of our zoning guidelines around where would retail cannabis be allowed in town. It's not, again, an affirmative of the establishment of a retail cannabis shop.
Okay, Eric, you have any updates?
Just a little bit remiss on not bringing this up at our last meeting, so it's a little bit older news, but our DEI Council was recognized, informally by the Department of Justice for just the good work they've done over the past couple of years. You may recall that the DEI Council, formerly Spirit, came out of a meeting that was facilitated by the DOJ, and then to have the DEI Council provide that update, get some really nice kudos for that work. Was nice recognition and very well deserved.
That's great. How about you, Amy?
I have a couple of event updates. One is the Arts and Crafts Festival that was held at the Performing Arts Center about a couple weekends ago was a really great success. It returned. The public attendance level was over 3,000 people, which is what it was pre-pandemic. And I think having it on the newly paved parking lot there really allowed this to be a new venue. And we brought in a lot of families and a lot of younger families with our Touch Truck event and the Adopt a Animal event that they had on Sunday. So it was really wonderful. We had a beautiful weekend. So I think that was a nice kind of reimagining of what the event could be. So also coming up in October, it's going to be on Monday, October 24th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. will be the annual kind of sensory-friendly trunk or treat event that is sponsored by the Aging and Disability Commission. This is going to be held at Eno Memorial Hall, so it's going to be indoors this year. That way there isn't going to be a problem with weather. And trunk or treat will be at decorated tables, and people can come in costumes, and there will be sensory-friendly activities and also refreshments. So if you can RSVP to Yaisley2 at Comcast.net or contact the social services office and get registered if you would like to attend this event. It's always a great event.
Thank you. Do you want to mention the fashion show?
Oh,
That some of us are volunteering for, and maybe some of the guys will volunteer for?
Let me pull
20th,
up
I
the date. Yes, on October 20th at the Senior Center is going to be the luncheon and fashion show, and that is another RSVP event. I think it has always been well attended. It took a break during COVID, but it will be back this year. And as Wendy mentioned, some of us will be volunteering in different ways and perhaps modeling some of the fashions, I believe, from the Second Chance Shop, and that is from noon to 2, and you would RSVP to the Senior Center for that.
Thanks. I just want to make sure people knew that they should come see that. Heather, how about you?
I just have one quick thing. Again, October, it's a very fun, festive month for our town. The library will be having their pumpkin decorating contest on October 26th, and they're putting out information next week on if any children would like to get involved with that, and if any residents would just like to go and take a look and check them out. They'll be outside again, how we did it last year. So
Great. Thank you.
Sure. One other thing, just to, I think would be interesting for some folks, especially from in Terriffill, that the zoning committee meeting, there was a plan that's been ongoing, but a little more formalized, of the Willow Arms apartment renovation. It's not certainly not an endorsement of it or whatever, but there is a significant investment going on that project up there, and there's complete plans for folks to view. And if you're not familiar with it, that's as you head crest the top of the hill, take a right on Elm, sort of that brick complex which extends away from the road. But it's a pretty thorough renovation or investment there. That's pretty interesting.
That's good to know. Didn't know that. Before we start selectmen action, I'm going to ask for a motion to table item C in the appointments and resignations. I've talked to Maria that the town is doing some work to look at the history and timing of the past appointments, and it was not available for tonight. So I'm going to make a motion to table that and potentially move it to the next meeting, if I could get a second on that.
All of the appointments?
Yes.
Just because I'm a little slow. What are we looking to answer?
I asked a question on the policy that was in place for the assignments, and when the policy was effective, and then there was a policy change, and they don't line up with the charter. So Maria was going to talk to Bob and get some background information for me. And the only thing pressing is Derek and Tom, who can serve until reappointed at this point. So it doesn't change anything right now.
I guess my only question is there were some 3 appointments from the Democratic Town Committee, one of which is for design review, and I know they've struggled in the past.
Yeah, this is only for the item C.
Oh, just item C.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. As I said, I'm slow.
Oh,
I'm good.
Wendy was clear. She said C.
Thank you.
And Wendy, I will make that motion myself.
I made the motion. You could second
I'll
it.
second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, that motion passes. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so now we move into selectmen action, and the first item up is our tax refund requests. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm going to ask for a motion to, effective September 28th, 2022, to approve the presented tax refunds in the amount of $6,812.45 and to authorize Town Manager Maria E. Capriola to execute the tax refunds.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that passes. The next item up is the Communities Challenge Grant for the Simsbury Meadows Band Shell expansion. I will let Maria just talk about this. I think this is a second go-around on this grant, but they asked for, they're doing more funding, so taking another shot.
Yeah, sure. So you may recall, we did bring this grant opportunity to the Board of Selectmen last fall, and we did apply under round one of the funding. Unfortunately, this project was not selected. When we did a debrief with DECD, they had communicated that there was definitely a focus in round one for distressed municipalities. And they provided some additional feedback to us to try to help strengthen the application for round two of the funding, which is now open. And they did ask the Performing Arts Center to produce a business plan as part of the grant application. So that is something that they have done. And then the Performing Arts Center did take the lead on this go around of updating the grant application, a draft of which is attached. You may recall that there is a match that is required, and we do have, as previously discussed, the $350,000 that was allocated for restrooms at that campus that could be reallocated to the larger project should the grant be awarded. At this time, the PAC has also provided via a match funds from their reserves, as well as some sizable donations that they have received. At this time, if we were awarded the grant, it could be as little as $740,000, but potentially additional funds. So we would just be seeking this evening for permission to submit the grant application. One thing, and we did this actually last fall as well, is just because that potentially, depending on the amount of the grant award, there could be a gap between the cost of the project and the revenue available. In the event that happened, we would need to come back to this board and kind of evaluate options, whether it's, more fundraising from the PAC, et cetera. So typically when we, apply for a grant, it's to apply for the grant, but also to accept the grant at the same time. That second piece we did not include this evening, with the understanding that depending if we were awarded the grant and based on how much the state is willing to provide to us, if there was a gap, right, we're going to need to come back and sort of have that conversation. So again, tonight we would just be seeking permission to submit the grant application.
Sounds good. And Tom, are you on for this one? Or no?
Yes, I am, and as well as I think Tom Roy's in the room too, right?
I am here, Tom.
Yes.
The team is here.
So I just are they? I just want to ask, whoever the person who wrote the grants, would they take some suggestions that might help the grant move along from anyone? Do you think that's an option? There's.
Sure. I mean, I think somebody I know someone from the Performing Arts Center board who completed the grant application. They used our previous application as a template. I know they've been working with Maria, Tom, and others to inform, to get the correct information on that application. But yeah, certainly I think some changes could be made to do October 7th. Correct, Maria?
Yes, that's correct. We have a little time. Yep.
So yeah, I not knowing what you're suggesting, I'm sure
I'll tell you. I'll just.
They really would love to see this grant go through, as we all.
Yeah, we all would love to see that go through. Well, just that there was a whole section on DEI, and it didn't mention that we have a DEI council in town as a kind of a town partner. I don't know if that would, help add some weight to that section. And I don't think they talked about the parking lots in there. How we just did it, and how we just invested all the money in there.
It may have been updated since you last saw it. I know that there's email traffic back and forth specifically with the value of the parking lots and the other improvements.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I did. Maybe I missed that. Okay. So those are just a couple of things I was thinking, just to throw in as much as possible. Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Okay. So if the board is supportive of submitting the grant application for the Communities Challenge Grant, the following motion is in order to move effective September 28th. Oh, does anybody have any questions on the board? I need to take over on that one. September 28th, 2022, to authorize submittal of a grant application for the Communities Challenge Grant for the Performing Arts Center facility.
So moved.
Thank you, Heather.
Second?
Eric, second that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, that motion passes. The next item, Tom's on for this one too, is the alcohol permit request for the Apple Barn event. And I will let you describe that if you'd like.
Sure. I think most of you are probably familiar or have attended a paint and sip night or make a basket for sip night kind of thing. This is what we're looking to do with the Apple Barn. This is part of our effort to expand our programming diversity. These events, I ran similar events in Granby with little or no issue. We would allow, the suggestion is to allow people to, BYOB basically. It would be a 21 and over event. It's monitored by the instructor. It's kind of on their best behavior. And these are common events. A lot of towns hold them, but the current guidelines for use of the Apple Barn prohibit the use of alcohol in there. So what we're seeking is a waiver. Certainly, I would love to see your support for that tonight. And, in the future, we'll look at it, maybe changing the policy if the board is supportive of it to allow more of these things. We don't have to come back to you, consistently with this request.
Okay, and the excerpt that's included does allow a permit to be written and
With the board's approval.
with our
yes.
approval. Okay. Any conversation on this? Okay.
Sounds like a nice event.
Yeah.
I've never done paint and sip,
Yeah.
so I better get in my $20.
We did it similarly with our gingerbread house program that was pre-COVID, where we had you could show up and get tips and tricks on how to put together a gingerbread house, and then also have it be kind of it wasn't a paint and sip, it was a make and sip night, I guess, a decorate and sip. But it was great. It was a lovely event, and we had lots of people attend, so it's fun.
Okay, and it'll be after the fashion show, so we might be dressed really well that night. So if the board supports issuing an alcohol permit for the event at the Apple Barn, the following motion is in order: to move effective September 28th, 2022, to issue an alcohol permit for the legal possession and use of alcohol for an event at the Apple Barn on October 20th, 2022.
So moved.
Amber, I need a second.
Second.
Eric, second that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next item is a proposed revision to the capital non-recurring fund policy. I think this is pretty straightforward, but I will let Maria give the info. Oh, Amy's on there in her car. Amy. Whoever wants
Do you
to.
want to start, Maria? Just want me to take it?
Go for it.
Okay, so this revision is something that came up during the Board of Finance policy review. At the end of every fiscal year, we do a closeout of any completed CNR projects. We offset any project overages with any project savings. We're not overspending the annual CNR appropriations in totality, but for an individual project, there may be some overspend. So for example, a piece of equipment for say $50,000 that we purchase, the actual price comes in at $50,000, $800. We allow them to go forward with the purchase, even with the $800 overage, if we know that there's going to be savings in other projects. So for fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21, for example, the project closeout overages ranged anywhere from $200 to $2,000. So the update to this policy just documents the current practice, and it sets limits on how much over is too much over per project without coming back to the boards for formal approval. And since the Board of Selectmen is the one to initiate appropriations and authorize transfers, during the processing, they need to concur with this update. So if you all have any questions, happy to answer them.
Okay. Any questions?
I appreciate this update. I think it makes a lot of sense. And it's, Amy, as you know, and others, this has been one of my challenges in the past, is when we approve capital items, we're not supposed per charter to exceed those appropriations, but that's not how the real world works, right? There are things get rounded, it changes, as you say, by a couple $100 here and there. And this seems to be a good clarification for what's, good fiscal policy. And if you have a competent finance director in Amy, they can certainly manage the overall capital spend, which, as you said, right, we're not exceeding. So, and I think that's important here, is we're not increasing the total appropriation of all capital. you're just appropriately managing the capital spend amongst all of the projects. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
So if the board supports the proposed revision to the capital and capital non-recurring fund, the following motion is in order to move effective September 28th, 2022, to endorse the proposed revision to the capital and capital non-recurring fund policy as presented.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Jeeps. Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
So that motion passed. Thanks. Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Amy.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so as I mentioned in the first selectmen's report, Maria and I talked about putting this on the agenda tonight, and this would be to create a work group to start working on the ordinance to prohibit tobacco, vaping, and cannabis products on public policy. As I said, it would kind of coincide to the work being done by the zoning commission to make sure that people understand there will be limitations on use if this regulation moves forward. I just wanted to know if the board has any questions, and if there's, we're looking for 2 members of the board who would be interested to serve on this work group. I don't know if I have any people that are interested.
I will serve on it.
Thank you.
I'm happy to serve on it.
Okay, Amber and Heather are happy to serve on it, so there we go. Okay, that's great. So move effective September 28th, 2022 to establish a Board of Selectmen work group to review the feasibility of establishing an ordinance to prohibit the use of tobacco, vaping, and cannabis products on public property. Further move to appoint Amber Abuel and Heather Getz to the work group. I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have our work group. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to resignations from Community for Care Committee and Aging and Disability Commission. So I'm going to just read all 3 of them. Move retroactive to July 1st to accept the resignation of Deb Schwager as a regular member of the Community for Care Committee. Move retroactive to September 15th, 2022 to accept the resignation of Sally Rieger as a regular member of the Community for Care Committee. Move retroactive to September 12th, 2022 to accept the resignation of Erin Levitt Smith as a regular member of the Aging and Disabilities Commission.
I'll move that with our thanks.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
I'll second.
Amber, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's
Aye.
aye. Okay, the next one is to propose appointments to various boards and commissions. So I'm going to read all 3 again. Move effective September 28th, 2022 to appoint Jolene Benedict as a regular member of the Design Review Board to fill a vacancy for a term ending December 6, 2025. Move effective September 28th, 2022 to appoint Elaine Lang as a regular member of the Historic District Commission to fill a vacancy for a term ending January 1st, 2023. Move effective September 28th, 2022 to move Jennifer Siderer from an alternate member of the Aging and Disability Commission to a regular member to fill a vacancy for a term ending January 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, and any changes or comments on the minutes, or are they good as written?
No feedback.
No feedback on the minutes. Okay, attached, we have some public gathering permits, and then Maria, did you want to talk about your letter and see if,
Sure. So as I mentioned, I believe in the last town manager's report, we are sharing information with members of the public regarding the proposed rate increases that Aquarian has submitted to PURA, which is the regulatory agency at the state level that has oversight for those proposals. Not all of our residents are connected to Aquarian Water. We do actually have 3 separate water utility companies that do provide service to Simsbury residents, and some of our residents are on private systems. However, for those residents who are on Aquarian system, The rate increase that potentially residential customers could see over a 3-year period is just under 28%, which is rather substantial. We do think that there are a number of factors that should be considered as PURA looks at this, such as I think the challenging economic situation in terms of inflation that many of our residents are facing. There were also some assurances that were made during the acquisition from Village Water Company back around the 2000 timeframe. And then simply, I think we're all quite aware, for those of us who are on Aquarian system, that the water has a high mineral content, and that does result in considerable maintenance costs, additional maintenance costs for folks in terms of plumbing fixtures and pumps, and really more than what is sort of typical. There is an opportunity for residents and others such as ourselves to submit written comment in regards to the proposed rate increases. So again, with Tom Roy's help, and I want to thank him, he really took the lead in drafting this correspondence for us, and we have been working with the fire district as well. Thought it may be prudent for the town to submit written comment regarding the proposed rate increases. If you all are comfortable with us moving forward, I'm happy to submit it under my signature. If you would like to do the board doing a joint signature with myself, if the board just wants to submit it, that's fine too. There's no sort of pride of authorship. But again, we just felt that it was important enough just to bring it to your attention to see, again, if you all would be supportive of submitting written comment in regards to the proposed rate increase.
Yeah, as I said before, I would be happy to put my name on that. There's a lot of comments going on out there with multiple ways to submit the comments individually too.
Thank you.
I'd be good with putting my name on it too, and I support it as written. I just had one one thought just for the board's consideration. There is a piece of their proposal that I personally do support, which is the tiered structure of people who use water for cooking and bathing essentially pay one rate, and then if you are a heavy water user, presumably people with irrigation systems pay a different rate. And I'm personally supportive of that because I think it drives good ecological behavior.
That's a valid point.
So just acknowledging that we are supportive of a tiered structure.
That's a great
suggestion. Would others support that?
I would.
Yes,
I would as well.
Yes.
Okay, good. And I'm also, I think, hearing consensus that perhaps the board would feel comfortable signing on as well, the full board.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. That's great. Thank you.
Sean?
Sean?
Excellent.
Okay. We talked about the Firetown Road. So I am going to, we have 3 executive sessions. We have attending for the first one, Matt Curtis, Tom Roy, Maria Capriola, and the full board. For the second one, item B, we have Tom Roy, Maria Capriola, and the full board. And for item C, we have only the Board of Selectmen. So I would like to ask for a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so we will be moving into executive session.